I'll have to
Play that
jump
funky
back and
music.
forth.
Hit it. There you go. I'm just gonna dance for your first, 10 seconds, maybe 15.
And just waiting for everything to go live. We want to make sure things go live on Twitter, things
Yeah,
go live on YouTube.
that's our excuse. We're waiting for things to go live.
All right, and we are live. Both Twitter and YouTube is going on.
Nice. Ladies and gentlemen, Ben isn't here, and Xiao and I have decided to have some fun.
Yes, we have. I decided to go figure out some nice funky intro music for everybody, so that way
Yep.
everyone can have a little bit of fun when we start to
We
get
need to
things set up.
we need to get to the point where everyone's got their own theme song. So you just like queue up the right theme song per person, you know?
When everyone comes in and we'd have to
Well,
find exactly whose theme song is what.
well, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Build with DIMO. I'm Aaron. Shaolin, everyone knows you, of course. You're like the face of this whole thing. Ben, who is usually my partner in crime, is out of commission today. He's got a severe headache, and honestly, it's just not that much fun anyway. That's why we had the whole like music intro and a little bit of dancing. Yeah, we had a good time. No, Ben, you are missed. You are. But yeah, today I think it's actually perfect to have just the two of us on here because we've been doing a bunch of just bug hunting and firefighting. We've got some big stuff coming down the pipe, and obviously we want to make sure that when that goes out, that we're really in a good spot. If you're tuning in and you don't know what the hell you're looking at, we are with DIMO. We are a Web3 project focusing on the next, what is it? What is it? The future of vehicles, connected vehicle applications. It's a mouthful, but it's pretty awesome, right?
Yes, yes.
So if you're using your car app today, tomorrow, we're hoping to change your mind. We got some really cool stuff that we've been working on. Check us out at dimo.zone, DIMO.zone. You can also go to our Discord and, of course, download the app on both iOS and Android. Get connected, start getting those rewards. Awesome. So, Shaolin, we've got some buck hunting, some firefighting, some support stuff. We talked a
Hmm.
little bit about this last week. I think part two, we can kind of, dive into it. But let's start off with like, give us a rundown. What do you do when you get an issue? Let's start there. This is a big part of running any project.
Yeah, yeah. You who don't know, besides just me being the producer for Build with Demo and not really showing my face that often, I kind of do a couple different things here on the project. I mean, my job title is community manager, but in reality, um, the element behind it is I do customer success work. So anything from community manager, Twitter, YouTube, just holding this project, our different digital events. I also run support. So, for me, support is one of the most crucial building blocks for any company project or anything in general because, when a user support, they want to leave satisfied, they want to leave happy, they want to leave knowing that their voice and concern was heard and that
Mhm.
whatever issue they had. So here at Demo, like I really strive to hold what I call the 5-star gold of any customer service. Um, and so generally, what happens is it's either through Discord or Zendesk. I would really prefer to have people go through Zendesk. That way, my agents can track everything through Zendesk. A lot easier. Uh, Dylan's here. He says hi. Hi, Dylan. Um,
Hey, Dylan.
So the element behind Zendesk is just to make sure everything is just collectively in the same spot. And basically, the way it works out is the first time we get an email, one of either myself or our new will go through. We'll check all the tickets. We'll figure out exactly what's going on with the issue.
Mhm.
And we'll kind of touch upon one today that is actually probably a lot of people don't really know a whole lot about, which is the Demo device and batteries. You know,
Mhm.
the device itself, when it plugs into your car, it does, get powered on. So it definitely uses the battery inside of your vehicle. Um, and we've actually come across. So the first thing I want to talk about today is how the device is set up to operate normally. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
kind of give a little bit of a backstory work in general. And generally, if you have like a Toyota, if you have a Honda, you just have like, one of the cars that's super popular in America, your battery usually runs on 12.5, 12.6 volts. And that's just normal state of a battery. And the way we have
Mm-hmm.
the device configured is if your battery drops underneath 12 volts, go into hibernation. Um, Now you would think, oh, 0.2 volts, that doesn't seem like a big drop, and you would be kind of correct. 0.2 drop, 2 point drop in voltage is it's actually within the normal realm of a functioning device. 12.2 volts is actually when a battery should be around like 8 used, so like its charge is only holding 80%.
Mm-hmm.
Where like the danger zone of a battery is. So if it drops below 11 volts, generally speaking, you're going to be kind of like, hey, I need to get a new battery. Um, we're very, very conservative with how we have our battery set up, just so that way we are not responsible for killing batteries. And that way, any type of like drainage that happens, the device powers off. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, we've actually seen a couple of our users that are like, hey, the device is I should go get a new battery because it was going into hibernation. And they eventually went and they got a new battery, and they're like, hey, now I don't have any new issues. So it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're seeing is there's actually a couple different vehicles that have very batteries. So these
Mm-hmm.
things are rated for like 13.2, 13.3 volts constantly. And the way we have things configured so far is if there's a 13.2, wake up the device. Mostly
Mm-hmm.
because, like I said, 12.6 is where the normal battery is. These are like jacked. So we're create new templates here to kind of work for these cranked batteries. That way it's like, hey, now spike up to 13.6 volts, then turn on the device.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those interesting things.
I like how you use the word jack there. It's like the battery's been exercising, hitting the gym a little bit more than it needs to. No, but I think that's awesome. I mean, one, it kind of speaks to like the data that we're getting and the way that we go about things. And when you run any project at scale, like DIMO is really doing, in that we're like building for the future, you know, you want to. I like how you talked about we run things conservatively because it sets a precedent that where we're kind of putting our best guess out there, willing to like test and kind of evaluate once we get more and more data. And that's just sometimes more and more users coming online and seeing cases that we seen for the first time that we are sometimes saying that this is an edge case, or sometimes we're like, well, there's just these batteries out there. Like maybe it's 5% of the batteries or 10% or only 0.5%, but we know now that this is happening. And that's just something that, again, that you come across in projects that are really aiming to be big, bigger than they
Mm-hmm.
are today, even though we're growing. We get new cars every day, and that's awesome. I think we're also, I mean, you and I, we work quite a bit together, especially when somebody enters into the support channels and we know that there's some sort of effect or some sort of issue that's happening on the mobile device.
Mm-hmm.
I think we could talk about kind of like, how we work together. This is part of the building process with Demo, the ability for both of us to get into the guts of an issue and kind of diagnose and debug, and kind of how we also like stage things up for the future. I think we'll talk a little bit here, but then I want to jump into some code for some stuff that we're going to push out already today or tomorrow. That's going to help basically queue up you and your team for better success when people go to pair these hardware devices. Um, so let's just talk about this. You and I, something comes across the desk. It's the first time you've seen this happen. What is sort of your like go-to strategy in this moment?
Okay. Something that's like I've never seen before. A lot of it is trying to get some more information from the user. So,
Mm-hmm.
like for example, let's use came across for the first time the other day is the app crashed immediately after the user
Mm-hmm.
to log into it. And
Yep.
then from there, it's like, okay, well, let's figure out some information. are you using iOS? Are you using Android?
Okay,
Uh,
good.
that's Android specific. Is it iOS specific? Does it matter? Is it actually a vehicle that could be on the device itself? Um, and then we have to kind of go a little bit deeper there. So, for example, we looked at iOS previously,
Mm-hmm.
and they had the Face ID. So it's like, okay, cool. Well, the next thing I want to see what happens is, could it just be account? So I'd be like, cool, just block your face because Face ID automatically wants to register that. Go ahead and hit that
Mm-hmm.
log out button, sign in with your new account or sign in with a different account and see what happens. And
Yep.
so when a user goes through and they've done that, they're like, no, it's still having an issue. Then it's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, now we got to dive a little bit deeper. Now we got to get more information from the user. And that's when
Mm-hmm.
I think you and I developed them on how to get information from the user outside of the mobile app, which
Yep.
is kind of that we found that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's always kind of interesting. It's because we're a Web3 project and the core sensitive information is held by, you know, we say wallets, but really it's this idea that your wallet is accessed through a private key, which you have offline, something that you've probably written and stored in a safe spot, or something that you're doing preventative measures to kind of really protect. That's going to do a lot of it. So when we go in there and we do like the debug version of accounts, which is what we're going for, we know that we're only accessing that first layer, which isn't really so sort of protected. It's really everything that's Web3. It's kind of the nice thing about operating in this lane or in this this area. We have those two layers where we know the real sensitive stuff is only accessible via your device. Anyways, when we go into our debug mode, we're trying to look like how can we emulate this user as best as we can to kind of see like what's happening within our software. And when I look at these things, like one of the first questions I always ask is like, okay, is this only happening to like one or two users, or is it happening to a certain subset? And is there a common thread, or is this happening to everybody? And that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of getting into the same thing you were talking about, where it's like, well, is it iOS or Android, or where exactly is it happening in the pipeline? I mean, I know that this user has been a huge help for us, and I went ahead and recorded a video. And I saw at the very tail end of the video, like the home screen started to load up, like the vehicle data started to come in. You started to see that building. It was very quick because we've optimized for performance. But as soon as that comes in, then it crashes. And we saw, okay, well, like this tells us that they're actually getting beyond the login, that it's once they start to get the vehicle data, somewhere in that whole process is what's causing the issue. Now, we're still waiting on some information on this one, still coordinating with the user. I actually, now that I think about it, okay. Sounds good to me. I've got a meeting with another user on Monday. I just had to check my messages. So, Kevin, if you're out there looking at this, we'll talk Monday. But that's part of how you do it. Sometimes you've got these really weird things. In this case, with the crash, it's only a small subset of people. I think we've identified two or maybe three users with this issue, which is crazy because at this point we have thousands. So it's less than a 1%, but we
Mm-hmm.
still take it just as seriously as if it was 10% or even 50% of the population. um, but yeah, we're still kind of diving into that one. I think that's really cool. What about an issue that you've done where you were able to solve it because you'd already seen enough information? It was kind of new, but it was kind of something that like you had experienced before and you kind of knew the right direction. I know you've hit a number of these.
Yeah. That's the good thing about being in support is you start seeing some issues and you kind of know how to solve specific things.
Yep.
Um, that's the fun thing is you have to figure out, okay, is this user error? Is this built into the mobile app? Is this
Hmm.
just something that's just an outlier per devices? But from what we've done inside of Zendesk is we will categorize some of these issues. Like, for example, I'm just going to use one that a ticket I saw today is a user had some issues trying to connect his wallet to MetaMask. And it's
Hmm.
like, okay, well, let's go through each step of the way on trying to connect to MetaMask and let's figure out what's going on with it. And the first thing that
Yeah.
I would do is I would actually go through and I would create a PDF step by step on how to connect a wallet to MetaMask. So that
Well, that's
way,
pretty cool.
you know,
Yeah.
for the user and for the internal team sake, where it's like, in case you guys don't know how to do it, I hope all of us know how to do it, of course. Um, we go through and we make that. So that way it's like, cool,
Hmm.
we could send it off to the user, be like, please, and let me know at what point you get stopped.
Yep.
And then that usually helps us because it's like, hey, step 6 of the process, that's when I can't. Okay, well, let's figure out at what point step 6 is, and then try to dissect. It could be something along the lines of MetaMask not automatically rerouting over to the mobile app. You have to manually move it. So it's like, hey, just it's still going on. It's going to ask you to sign it. You just have to swap apps manually, and then I'll
Hmm.
go ahead and it over to Aaron and be like, hey, Aaron, just Meta automatically switching apps. So we could
Mm.
solve the issue for the user. We could get them connected, and it's usually not a huge like game
Yep.
issue. Um, but it's still something that we want to look into, and it's still something we want to fix. And so, like, documentation's done. Then we create a ticket actually for our backend team. So for you or for anyone else in our backend team, and we'll go through and we'll hand that off. And luckily now we have that integration with our Zendesk as well as our backend system, which tracks tasks, and they
Hmm.
just talk, and it's wonderful that they talk because that
That's
means
great.
when a user when we're done, or at least when the backend team is done with their part of the ticket, it automatically updates the user to let them know, hey, Aaron's done fixing this. Please try again.
Awesome. 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 Yeah. I want to dive into something that you mentioned a second ago though, because I think this is really interesting, and this is basically the other route. This is where we could chalk it up to user error, but really it's maybe we're not as savvy with our UI as we think we are, or maybe we have some mistake that we overlooked. And we've been getting a lot of reports lately about people who accidentally logging into the wrong account.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an offshoot of the fact that we're supporting like traditional login methods like Google and Apple, but also the newer age Web3 styles of like MetaMask and Trust Wallet and those things. And most people, most of our users have both. It's just, Google and Apple just have such, penetration to the market that everyone kind of has already set this up. And most people who are coming to DIMO have a MetaMask account or wallet on their phone or whatever. So let's talk about like this situation, and then let's also talk a little bit about what we're going to do for the future to kind of help this out.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we have a situation where people are saying what to you when they kind of experience this. 'Cause, again, they don't know that this is a problem, but you hear what.
Okay, so just to make sure I understand your question correctly, you
Mhm.
are, when a user has multiple logins, what are they asking?
Yeah, like typically, how do you identify? It's like, oh, I bet you logged into the wrong in the wrong way.
Okay, yeah. So just for everyone, just so everyone knows here, the way the mobile app is set up, login options creates a separate account. So when you
Hmm.
log in with Google, it creates an account tied to your Google login. When you log in with Apple, it's tied to an Apple login. Same with Web3. So from what we've noticed, if a user logs in with Web2, Gmail, Apple, there's an option to connect your wallet. Once your
Hmm.
wallet is connected, there is usually that thought process is, oh, once I've connected my wallet, I could go ahead and log in with Web3. So I could go ahead and log in with that wallet, which actually is not the case. It still just creates that separate account. So the first thing we want to do is, we'll figure out what the question is. So if the user's just like, hey, my points have disappeared, my vehicle disappeared, my
Mm.
none of my stuff is registered, can you help me? Thing we're going to ask is like, okay, can you please provide me your email that you've used to log in with your DIMO account, or if you've logged in with Web3, the address. Um,
Hmm.
that's one we could do. It. We get a of your vehicle. So, like for example, if a user has logged in with Gmail and then now they for some reason they've logged in with Web3 because of Face ID or fingerprint sensing, where it just automatically logs you in, they're going to be like, I
Hmm.
can't add my car a second time, and then okay, well, has the VIN of the vehicle already been registered? It could already be registered to that other account. It could be like, oh, we noticed that you're logging in with this one. You should actually be logging in with this one because this is
Yep.
where all of your information's at. Um, so I believe there's something being worked on to kind of prevent users from logging in and creating duplicate accounts.
Yeah, but one point I want to jump in real quick, and this is something that you kind of glossed over, but this is sort of the underbelly of big projects like this, is that we have a whole layer of like infrastructure that's built on support and sort of admin processes and things like that to help guide users when they hit this. So if someone gives us an email address, we can type that in and we can see, oh, well, this is actually tied to two accounts. One that was like a Web3 login, and then the person registered that email address, and another one that was like a Google login, and then they have both now. Um, but we had to build that from scratch, and we built things like that specifically to aid users. And that's another part of like a big project that people don't really understand, is that if you're going to put out the project, people will hit issues. It's going to happen, and the more sophisticated the project is, the more likely you're going to have like these little edge cases or different like offshoots that people can go down to basically get into an area that they become stuck in. And
Hmm.
obviously there's like frustration when a user logs into an account that he thinks he's got two or more vehicles connected, and then all of a sudden there's nothing there. I'm sure the immediate response is like, hey, Demo, you've lost all my information.
Yeah, yeah. Usually it's like, what's going on? Like, why can't I view my car?
Yeah.
And that's usually the case. It's like, okay, let's figure out if this is a duplicate account situation. I mean, it's happened
Mhm.
plenty of times now at this point to where it's like, that's one of those tickets that you see it, you're like, I have an idea of what's going on, and then like that's the first thing that
Yep.
you check.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
because it's a good amount of times. Now, I
That
do
makes
want to point out,
Yep.
and this is for all users here, is there's two ways to delete something in the mobile app. There's deleting the integration, and then there's deleting the vehicle. Deleting
Mhm.
the integration is like you want to remove your smart car subscription, you want to move your demo miner, and that has no issue with your vehicle. That has no issue with the points that you've currently accrued. However, if you delete the vehicle at the current moment, it will actually remove all data from the vehicle, and it will remove all of the points in which you have generated so far.
Mhm.
So just wanted to let everyone know that please be sure that if you're going to delete a smart car subscription from a vehicle, you select the right option. Now, there
Yep.
is a prompt that says stand, but just be aware.
No, I mean it's important. We've obviously taken extra steps with our design process and everything to give that extra. It's really, really easy from a programmer standpoint. When you tap a button, it does just that one thing. Actually, adding in that intermediary step where it's like we confirm, we go an extra mile to do that. We basically really want to make sure that the user knows what they're doing. That takes more of our engineering time, that takes more of our design time, that takes more of our like QA and tester time. We do that specifically to make sure that you as a user are set up really for success. So if you accidentally hit the wrong button or kind of go down the wrong path without paying too much attention, we really double check to make sure that was the right way. Again, just hitting a button to do what you wanted the first time would have been so much easier. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, let's talk about like we do have a fix in mind. This is something that's not rolling out tomorrow. It's something that's going to take a few more thoughts, but this has really been a collaboration and kind of coordination between all the teams, from the back end team to, you know, mobile, not just like the programming, which I do, but also the design that Ben really spearheads, but also you guys from support and the tickets that you've gotten. We've talked about really like what would be, we could even think about it in two ways. What could be something that we could do, as soon as possible for the short term, and what's something that we could probably do for the long term. Long
Mm-hmm.
term, I think we've kind of identified it'd be really nice that if you've got a Web 2 and a Web 3 login to your MetaMask and your Google, both of them point to the same account, and then it doesn't matter. No, it's a long term fix because the two just have totally different security protocols and they're totally built off of different systems. And we don't want to rush into something knowing that we're creating vulnerabilities for your account. That's basically like what it comes down to. It's like, hey, we understand that this is a suboptimal experience, but at the end of the day, like you're better off for it even if you don't realize it in the moment. And that's kind of the thought process and methodology that we apply to everything, especially when it comes to security.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Short term fix, we're talking about blocking users because I think we have enough data and enough experience in this place to know that if somebody, first created like a Web 2 login, no, let's do it the other way, a Web 3 login, and then register their email address, and then later on they go the Google route, we're just going to block them. We're going to say, hey, you know what? Looks like you accidentally created a second account. If this is wrong, go ahead and contact support. But I think it's best that you log out and try out the other method because really that's probably the account you want. And
Yeah.
that's kind of where we landed, right?
I mean, yeah, that kind of seems like. I mean, obviously, what we have to do too is we're gonna have to make sure that the messaging we have behind that, so that way users
Mhm.
don't get scared because, like,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone wants to be told no, but also at the same time, it's like, well, we want to make sure that you have access to your data and
Yeah.
the correct one. Um, I mean, um, outliers there to where it's like, what if somebody forgot the seed phrase to their Web3 account? What do you do in that
Yeah.
scenario? And these are some of those things that we're taking into consideration for that long-term fix, because that way we want to make sure that everyone is set up for success down the road for any conceivable element that could pop up.
You can almost see like a reoccurring pattern here. Like in the same way that we approach the battery voltage and being conservative there, it's like that same sort of mental framework is being applied to how you think about something totally on the other end of the spectrum, which is just logging into the application and the security sort of measurements and like security measures and even that sort of conservative mentality of like we want to step before we leap. That's the right saying, right? We
Mhm.
want to just take a baby step that we think is going to work for most people and adjust from there based off of more data. Same sort of framework, same sort of ideas.
I mean, I would say that this is probably some of our philosophy that we have with just the project in general. We want to make sure that we can cast a wide enough net to where it works for the majority of people, and then we could go through and make those fixes for the people that happen to have those smaller issues. I mean, we could definitely take a look at data that's shown up in the mobile app. Percent of vehicles that we have connected that have miners are showing all of the data we've created for it. We have
Mm-hmm.
specific loggers, and I'll kind of go into this just very, very briefly. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like a logger is something that has the data on the device plugged into the car, and then the logger then talks to the car and says, "Hey, I want this data. Please give it to me." And if that language is spoken, and it's like a
Mm-hmm.
native language between the logger and the car's going to give you that information that you've requested.
Mm-hmm.
Some vehicles speak just a slightly different dialect. And that might be the reason why some users might not see fuel level, but then they might see all the throttles. They'll
Yep.
see the engine load, they'll see odometer. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing with odometer. Right now, we have it pushed out to vehicles 20 because in 2019, the U.S. government mandated that odometer actually they speak the same language throughout all cars.
Yeah.
All makes have that, and that's why we're seeing a lot more odometer stuff coming for 2019 vehicles. For the older vehicles, I'm actively learning to speak those languages, and it takes some time. So please be patient. I mean, we're still trying to make sure exactly, um, but they'll come in time.
I think it's so nice how you phrase that, the different dialects, the languages. It's really it's watering down a massive undertaking that DIMO is taking on here. I mean, the proper name for these things are the ODB2 codes and the whole CAN system. And even I'm like very generic or very novice when it comes to stuff because it really is a field of expertise. And all the different manufacturers, even sometimes you have the same manufacturer but different regions, they have a totally different architect that they adhere to in a different sort of way of putting that out there. The DIMO system's trying to decode all that. So when you have something that is trying to be universal, it just means speaking a lot of different languages as you put it out there. We're getting better. And, it's so funny. There are people who've been in the community since day one. We're just about a year old at this point. And we are really at the beginning of this process and we've made so much headway so far. You can just imagine where we're going to be in 3 years. It's going to be incredible, and we're really set up for success. And we're really making sure that we have not just like the knowledge for these different languages, but the pipeline to add in new languages. So as we get better, it's really easy to onboard that new understanding, which is ultimately going to bubble up to you, the user. And it won't matter if you've got a Lexus or you've got a Mazda or you've got afford. At the end of the day, we're going to try and know as much about your car. So you're just going to be overwhelmed with information, but in a good, concise way, but overwhelmed,
Mhm.
really. That's the goal here. Um, I know we wanted to keep a little bit short of a meeting today. And I think as the last thing, we could kind of talk about, some of the fires that we've been putting out, some of the bugs we've been chasing have dealt specifically with pairing these hardware devices. Obviously, people are getting them in the mail, they're going in there and installing them. There's a lot of excitement, and then, you hit some sort of blocker. You and your team have done a fantastic job of getting on the phone with those users or getting in chats with those users and step by step trying to figure out what's going on. Um, and we've taken some away from that and we've learned some sort of things that we can do to better help out not just the users, but you as support to know exactly what you need to do to really get past the current spot. Um, you want to dive into some code?
Let's dive into some code. I've actually put on a little bit more time on the Twitter timer over here, so we got an extra half an hour.
Let's see what we can do. I don't think we're going to need all that time, but let's give it 10 minutes.
Hey, we got it. I'm just saying. I extended it.
All right. Well, I'm going to share my screen. We're going to get a little bit of inception
Yeah.
and we're going to get into some code. This should look familiar to some of you guys. But I want to talk specifically about what it means to error handle. And it's not something that, again, people, developers, designers, whatever, really started off with because you have what's called the happy path. This is basically in a perfect world, users are going to follow this journey and they're going to end up with some sort of success. And almost everybody just fixates on this thing. And if you're a brand new project, you're pretty much only writing code that follows that happy path. Unfortunately, as you get bigger and you get more sophisticated and you've got more nuances that you're trying to adhere to or sort of work around, um, you're going to get off that happy path sometimes. The hardware pairing flow, which is basically what we engage the user in if they have the mobile device and they're ready to go ahead and set up their hardware miner inside their vehicle. That whole flow is very sophisticated, and the chances are that something that goes wrong are decently high just because of all the things that have to happen in that process. Now, we have a pretty damn good success rate. The vast majority of users will get through this whole flow without any sort of issues, but there's the occasional thing here or there. It could be that you've got a weak internet signal. It could be that for some reason the Bluetooth that you have isn't talking to the miner like it should be, or it could be something totally that we haven't seen before. What we've come to understand is that, like, hey, sometimes these hiccups are going to happen. Let's go ahead and make sure that if we're not going to be on the happy path, at least the unhappy path or the sad path is set up for success so that they can share a screen with you, the support team, and kind of get back on the right place. Right now, we don't have that, and we're going to add one. So I've got a UI for us, and I want to talk about how we're actually going to get a user there. So if I go into like the add a vehicle flow, I'm going to go ahead and click add another vehicle. Most of you guys have seen this screen before. It's going to give you a little bit of a heads up, kind of get you there. I'm going to dive into this code real quick. I'm going to change this around so you guys can see what it looks like if for some reason you entered it in directly to this error mode. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop up this code right here. All right, this is this thing right here. And we're going to go ahead and open up the index. I'm going to do it two ways. The first thing I'm going to do here is just show you right now what this looks like. We'll take this thing right here.
I've really loved on how smooth Xcode looks on. And like, I just love the actual emulation of the iPhone that you have here and what you can see in real time.
Oh yeah, Apple's done such a fantastic job with its whole simulator system and whatnot. Building this out has become quite a pleasure. On the left side or the right side here, I've got VS Code, which is Microsoft's IDE, but it works seamlessly with got Xcode here in the background, but it works seamlessly together. Like, this is a really nice development setup. And this is something that if users have a lot of interest in, if you're an aspiring developer, I'd be happy to walk through what it looks like to have a really good environment set up so that you can just get into the code and develop quickly. That's half the battle. I've seen several projects just struggle with, putting stuff out there strictly because their whole like development environment takes way too long. It's crucial, and I mean absolutely crucial for success to be able to get in there and be quick about it. So, speaking of quick, this is what the screen is going to look like if you hit an error. Now, right now, we don't have any information in here because you haven't actually hit an error. I'm just showing you as part of my development process. I'm going to go ahead and hijack like the screen here and just put out what I want this thing to do. If we look here at my specific screen, oops, this is like the code that handles all this. Now, I did do some time on some animation. You guys know me. I love my animations. I think they're awesome. So you have this nice little pulse here. This is 100% original. I'm sure it could be finessed. We could kind of change the timing on things and kind of change the way it fades, but it gets the point across. Like that blaring red thing just screams error, error, alert, alert. And that's what we wanted. So if you're here, again, this is a sad path. This is the unhappy path, but at least we're going to try and get you to a spot where you can get on with support. In fact, we've even opened up a button here that's going to get you right into support. Part of our messaging, and we know that sometimes servers go down or sometimes your internet's bad or things like that, is just, hey, try this flow again in an hour. Otherwise, you can tap on the support and get right in front of you, Shao.
Yeah. Now, question: when you hit that button, where does it take you?
That's a good point. This is something that we're going to have to talk about. This might be a situation where we pop up a tray and give like all the different ways to get ahead of support. I think we might just say like, hey, email us at support@dimo.zone, or we could go ahead and give a link to Zendesk, whatever. This is something I was going to talk to you about in a second anyway, so this is perfect timing.
Yeah.
In fact, why don't you tell me right now what you would like to see when I hit this button?
So I think just because Zendesk is email based, what you probably can, there's a way that you click that contact support button. If it will automatically open up the mail client on the user's phone, whether it be Gmail, Hotmail, or whatever it happens to be. If that's possible, that way you could load it up, and then it could automatically be like support@demo.zone generic response, right? Or it could be like, hello, I'm having issues with my miner, like trying to get my demo device connected to my app. You can help me. And there might be an awesome thing that we can do too, is if we could do error detection. So it's like, at what point in the process are we getting that error? And then
so let's see about that. React Native linking email. How to launch this? So we know that this is React Native docs, and this can go ahead and it's got a built-in schema for mail to. And so let's try that out real quick. Let's go in here. You see we have our action button here. Right now we don't have any attached on press handlers. So let's go ahead and do that. And let's go ahead and bring in linking, which is a React Native library, which is going to talk to, it's a React Native module that's going to talk to like the actual APIs of both iOS and Android. We're going to say open link, open URL, sorry. And here's where we're going to put in the mail to. Mail, I got to spell. And
now it's having
mail
issues
to
with
support
device. This should go to zone. We technically have two support emails. Same spot in Zendesk. One is store support@demo.zone. That is if you have an issue with your order, if you have an issue trying to look things up, you have just want to do a return, replacement. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but you want to do something like that. We do have a dedicated email address just for that. And then if you have issues with your device trying to get it set up to, Ben's hitting us with a mail to no. Anyway,
so we can do a lot with this schema too. I think we're going to start right now with just the URL, or not the URL, but the email address. But I think we can actually do like subject and all that kind of stuff too. Let's jump into this. Let me hit contact support, and I think we're not going to get anything here because obviously we are on a simulator, so we don't have mail client installed. It's a little bit weird. But I want to just restart this thing and see if there's anything on support or anything on simulator. So let me go back here. We're going to go ahead and add another vehicle. I'm going to hit contact support. Nope, I'm not getting anything. I don't love that. I don't love that, Shao. What do we want to do in the case that someone... Oh, you know what we can do? They have a nice function right here. Ooh, this is really cool. This is turning out to be very fun. Instead of open URL, we're going to do can open URL. Const is mail available. I'm going to see something real quick. This might be, oops. Yep, I think that's an async call, which is okay. Let's go ahead and save, and we should. Well, that's not doing anything at all. And you know what, Xiao? I think I am under the wrong thing. Let me see. Contact support here. Okay, which means that we're waiting and we did not get back anything.
Now, I know in the future, agents, we actually will allow users to text us directly. We at least have actually a number set up for Zendesk. It's still trials period right now, just because we want to make sure that we set the precedent of like how quickly we can get back to a user. Generally, the rule of thumb for all support everywhere, it's within 48 hours. Now, we crush that goal. You know, I mean, obviously, if you're emailing us on Saturday, we're going to get back to you on Mondays. But generally speaking, we will get back to you like usually within the same day. So like our responses are relatively quick. But just so you know, in the future, we will definitely be able to be like, hey, text us, we'll help you out.
Awesome. Yeah, I think as far as this goes right here, I'd love for this to be, I'm worried about a situation. I'm going to say this, we're going to probably put a little note in here, but I'm worried about a situation where someone doesn't have, like, I know I have Gmail installed on my phone, and a lot of people today have like an email client that's actually active on their phone, but we don't know. I think we're going to have to like assume that they do and kind of go from there. But we're going to put ourselves a little note, because this is something that, again, sometimes you just have to pick and choose your battles.
Well,
and in
let's
the
see.
case that they hit like contact support and nothing happens, you're just going to have to email us another way. And I'm going to put my little
I
note
know
here.
with iOS, like you automatically have you already automatically. Hold on, Ben's calling in.
Fellas,
You're on the air.
fellas,
You couldn't stay away.
fellas, I have the worst headache, and it's getting worse hearing you talk about mail twos. So it's not
Don't lie. You got jealous about our little
not happening, fellas. We cannot do we cannot do spontaneous mail twos in here.
All right, you tell us what you think is a good situation, because we do have Zendesk connected to the email. What do you suggest?
Yeah, we at least need to prompt them with, like, somebody needs to know that they're going to get bounced out to their email client.
So you want like a tray that says like, hey, we're gonna have you okay, let's have a tray.
I would say, if we want to get clever, wish we love getting clever.
You and your clever.
No, I would listen to me. What I would suggest here, and I haven't mocked any of this up yet, but I'm witnessing this problem happening. I would suggest that we do one thing, which is we can pop up a tray. One of them can be, we can have two buttons on the tray. One button can say, send an email. Are we opposed to the other being a deep link to the support channel in our Discord? So at the very least, the user has two ways to contact us, but also there's no expectation that, like, if I hit that button that says contact support and there's no visual indication that I'm going to be sent out somewhere, I'm going to be very annoyed if I get just like thrown into my mail client. What do we think? Shaolin, can we deep link to support?
Whatever you gotta do, man. I mean, like,
Well, you're the support guy, right? I gotta make sure.
yeah, oh yeah, I know. I'm just saying, as long as you can get me a ticket in Zendesk, that's all I care.
Aaron, what do you think about that? We can throw some. Yeah.
I think you came in here to make my life difficult. That's my first thought. Let me just make sure I let the whole world know what I really think.
Oh God, I was trying to stay away, but I was just listening to you guys, and I was like, "Why is my headache getting worse?" And then I was like, "Oh, it's
spidey senses were tingling.
My least favorite thing in the world is mail twos, so I have to jump in here."
All right. Well, one other thing I want to do real quick. I know that we're getting this thing set up. I'm gonna put in a box of this stuff.
Oh man, I just love the fact that Ben
needs a
headache and he just wanted to share it with Aaron.
God, yeah, that's.
I must suffer. You all must suffer.
That's teamwork, fellas. Teamwork. Let me go over here to the vehicle preferences real quick because I know we have a tray here, and I just want to make sure we have everything in our head. So let's go here. Let me go to this. Here's what happens when you delete the vehicle. We get something like this. We're looking for like this kind of same setup, not nearly as like, woof, but same kind of tray, right?
Yes. So normally I would mock this up, but if we want to just do it live. Okay. Change delete Old Faithful to contact support. On it, scrap the image, scrap all the text, have button 1 be the Discord, or button 1 is like email, button 2 is Discord.
All right, hold the horses, people. Holding of the horses.
You want the user to go to Discord, Ben? Oh,
I'm saying we gotta have two options. One is deep link to Discord, right? So they can just DM you right there. I want meet somebody. People got different ways they want to support or
that's true.
Report stuff. So, and then you can DM them and it can get taken care of that way.
We have this thing right here. Oops, we need a little bit.
Looks good.
We're not gonna need this image here.
Shaolin does not want Discord.
I want to kind of go on record and be like, please I would prefer it if users created tickets, because the amount of people that DM me is quite high, and so I don't want any conversations to get lost.
Well, I was gonna say it's not gonna DM you.
No, I know that, but Shaolin, is there like a link that Zendesk has that just like, or a person can fill out a ticket?
Yeah, you just have to email it. Emails.
Oh, but they don't have like a link, like a URL, like a web page that somebody could open to do that same thing.
I could take a look to see if we could set one up.
Yeah, take a look at that real quick because we can link to Safari or whatever from here.
Oh, what we could do as well is we could send it to the contact page on the website. So DIMO.zone, I think it's contact us at DIMO.zone.
I just found a bug. I guess everyone's vehicle is Old Faithful. I just realized that.
Yep. So what a user can do is DIMO.zone/contact, and they could fill out that form, and that will automatically create a ticket inside of Zendesk for us. So that way we could actually go to that URL. If not, you could just go ahead and email it to support at DIMO.zone through the web client.
It's kind of interesting. What's the URL for that thing? Ben, if we just have everyone go to a URL that they fill out a form, is that okay for you, or do you still want this tray to open up? We'll do the tray. We've already gone that route.
Let me think on it. Right here's the thing: you have to indicate that something's going to happen that's going to take somebody out of the app. That's really the big thing. So this could be as simple as putting that external link icon in the button. But the thing that's like a no-go is you cannot be using a product. And like, think about when somebody's pairing this thing. You're like, sitting there in your
I get it.
car or next to your car. You've been going through this whole process, and then you expect to like get bounced out to MetaMask or whatever if you have to sign a transaction. But if you're just like, I want to contact support, like if I'm using this app, I think like, okay, they have some support thing in app, and then it just like opens my Gmail, populates it with like some nonsense or something, and maybe I've got like a personal and a work email on my phone, and I've got like, and now it's opened my work one, and I don't want to do that, so I got to switch it and close it, and but it's a pain in the ass, right? So I want to make this like not be like somebody's seeing this because they're frustrated. I don't want to like give them another frustration.
All right. We're gonna go ahead and do a background color of white, and let's duplicate that.
Alice is in chat on YouTube right now. Her thought process on this is that would be cool. We were talking about the contact form inside of the mobile app currently and where that goes for like the feedback, and she suggested if there's a way that we similar to that inside of the app already, so where they could go contact support, boom, already pre-filled out a form, they could go through and add in all the information. They're logging in with their email, so like if they log in with the Gmail, they log in with an Apple ID, would be able to scrape that information so it's automatically like, hey, when I respond to that ticket, that it goes to their email.
But this is that case where like one of the options being email, they could, if they have a different email for some reason they registered for versus one that's on their phone. This is interesting. How about this? Let's go ahead and we'll make this one the close option. This one's going to be the email us, fill out a form. And this one, we're going to do background, do border color, do color as white, and border with something like that. Ben, you still with us?
I'm still here, fellas.
All right. Something like that. Obviously, I need your Shakespeare-esque approach to writing text.
We'll maybe tweak. Here are the options to talk to Shaolin Funktastic.
Yeah.
Hopefully, ideally, right, in a perfect world, the user never has to meet Shaolin in a support context. So
Master.
yeah, I would just say contact support. I would delete we don't need the paragraph text.
Now, let me tell you, I've made quite a good amount of friends now on these support calls. This is a shout out. This guy is fantastic. He's now helping because I helped him out. We got him connected, and now he's just like, bro, I got you. So now he's helping out the Netherlands regions.
Well, Shao, why don't you drop that link that you were just talking about here in the chat?
It's already there, brother.
All right, cool. Let's go ahead and use that same linking that we were talking about. Here on the on press, we're just going to go ahead and do linking dot open URL. There we go. Check it out. Boom. There it is.
Yeah, okay. I have a better solution now.
Oh, you're killing me.
Ooh, let's hear it.
What happened to this headache?
That's affecting my ability to think clearly. I guess we don't really even need the tray. We could just say in the context support, as long as we fellas, it's Friday, I got a headache. I'm going crazy.
Your headache's about to be contagious, my friend.
Fellas, there's a reason that I'm not on camera or on this stream today until this. Dude, use the external link icon on contact support. On like without the tray. Get rid of the tray where it just says.
So you always want to go to this form then, is that what you're saying?
I think that's better than
a tray. Okay.
I think that's better than Either that or just email us. Whatever we do, just use an external link icon on it. Whatever is easier for Shaolin. Whatever you guys think is best.
But okay,
You just have to indicate that something's going to happen.
all right. So what we're gonna do here is comment this out real quick. Let's go. Oops. Let's go here. Grab this. So like this, and then that's gonna happen.
Yes, use the external link icon that we have to indicate that if you contact support, it's going to take you there. Do you need me to send that to you?
No, I've got. I'm competent at my job, Ben. Thank you. Yeah, this guy.
And I felt that. Fellas, just it's 3:25 right now. Coming up on the top of the hour.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna go ahead and do our outro music, and then we'll see you guys next Friday.
All right. So I think we got a under the gun here. I like it. So we're gonna import our material. All right, actually give me the name of the icon, Ben.
Wow.
Yeah, I did.
I mean, I called it external link, but it's actually not a material icon.
Oh, okay.
So,
well, we need the. Oh shoot, we don't actually have it in material. What is
that's
it?
what I'm saying.
Oof.
That's why I asked if you wanted me to send it to you. But you're competent at your job. Don't worry.
Well, what's the material icon version of this that you're okay with for the time? You know what? I'm gonna look this up. I'm tired of asking you questions.
Look it up. Pull up my design system and look for external link.
I'm just gonna do link. This guy right here.
Huh? Yeah. Link dash external. Nope. Down. Go back. Octacons link dash external. Right there.
Oh, isn't that share?
Nope. Share is pointed up.
Oh my gosh. So material doesn't have a version of this or what?
I don't think so for some reason.
Oh, okay, that's gonna take way too long.
Oh man. The helium Twitter right now, he's got our COO Alex on a pin. This guy's looking so professional there talking about DIMO. It's fantastic.
Oh man.
Launch. That's
Launch.
it.
Well, damn. I've been making trouble for myself.
Color equals white. Size equals 16. We're going to do a ML of XS, and we're going to say
No, on the other side.
the other side.
Yeah. How much space do you have?
Probably you want more.
Yep.
I don't know why this thing. Oop.
It looks like it's not baseline aligned.
Yeah, but it should be. Maybe the style equals. There we go. Add a little space there. How does that look?
It looks like it's closer to the top than it is to the bottom.
Boys, we got a minute.
Let's go.
There you go. Now it's 1 pixel difference. All right, we made time. Play that outro music.
All right, play the outro music. Let's go.
We have outro music. Oh my god.
We made a lot of changes to the music.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Fellas, ladies, join the DIMO Discord.
Oh my god.
If you have any issues, come on out and enjoy the install support call from Shaolin and the CS team.
What have you all done to my screen?
We made it funkier, Ben. That's the thing.
I'm playing Waka Flocka next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
See you guys next Friday.